What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Um. What up? What up? I'm back again with another live video. You already know who it is. This is Damian Moody, also known. Did I drink that water already? I guess I did. All right. So anyway, I'm Damian Moody, also known as Kashmere Majesty or Red Riding Hood, and I am back again with Rest in Power, The Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin by his parents Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin. And we are on Chapter 9, Sabrina, March 22nd, 2012 to March 26th, 2012. Hi, sweet candy, Attorney Crump began on the phone, which is what he and everyone else who is close to me has called me since my grandmother, whom we all called Nana, gave me the nickname. I want to apologize, Crumb continued. I told you that you were going to be free for the next couple of days. But there's this Riley. If he said it once, he said it a million times. There's this Riley. There's this press conference. There's this media appearance. In the beginning, I would say, Crump, you're working me too hard because I was still grieving and just wanted to withdraw from the world that killed my son instead of confronting it. Sweet Candy Crump would say in his most persuasive drawl. The most important people in defending the legacy of your child are you and Tracy. People have to hear from you. And since it was for Trayvon, Tracy and I never hesitated. We always did as Crump and his partner Parks asked us. In the days following the Million Hoodie March, rally supporting Trayvon began popping up across the country. From Sanford to San Francisco to New York, or Seattle, I'm sorry. San Francisco to New York, thousands upon thousands of Trayvon Martin supporters gathered and gave their prayers, their time, their energy, their anger, and their voices to demand an immediate arrest and criminal prosecution. I want to know if they going to get further with this case. I'm pretty sure they are, and I mean like because throughout the book they kept saying things like um he had an iced tea and Skittles, but he actually had a watermelon flavor Arizona and Skittles. It's a lot of stuff I want to know, so I'm gonna just keep reading just to figure out if they speak on it or not. What began as a family tragedy had turned into a national movement. We had a goal, a platform, and supporters from coast to coast all clamoring for justice for Trayvon. We were constantly on the road, traveling from one media appearance, rally, or event to another, from congressional hearings in Washington, D.C. to town hall events back in Sanford. We could feel the momentum growing everywhere we went. We kept our bags packed. I had all my personal things, lotion, toothbrush, and carry-on toiletries stored in my suitcase. I never took them out. When we did finally come home, it was never for long, just enough time to switch whatever clothes were in the suitcase for a fresh set I kept ready in my closet, and then we were off again, always gone. If we couldn't get a fight on time, we drove wherever we needed to. Soon I had to buy extra business clothes and suits. The salespeople at Dillard's New York and Company and Macy's in the Pembroke Lakes Mall near Fort Lauderdale began recognizing me and blessed them. They sympathized with my loss and treated me with extra care. Before my son's death, I had few business suits, but not nearly enough to keep up with our nonstop appearances. Then there were the mirrors. They were everywhere, on planes, in hotel rooms, and in television studios. Sometimes I would stare into those mirrors and look at myself. My smile had disappeared. I had also lost a lot of weight, which would soon add up to nearly 40 pounds and four dress sizes. I chalked it up to grief and depression because whenever I wasn't on the road, I just lay around the house. My mom noticed a strange swelling on one side of my neck, which I ignored at first. Justice for Trayvon. Worry about your health later. I told myself everything was just moving so fast. At night, both at home and in a never ending series of hotel rooms, I would lie in bed trying to sleep, but my heart was racing like I had run a marathon. Let me sleep. Please let me go to sleep. I would tell myself, but I couldn't relax. Some nights my heart pounded so fast I thought I might have a heart attack. Thank goodness for my family, my friends, and my church community, people I had known since I was a kid. My sister handled the physical logistics, meetings, traveling, getting me where I needed to go. And my best friend, who I've known since grade school, handled the technical details, keep it and watch over the internet, and alert me whenever Trayvon's name or case was mentioned, and handling my Twitter, Facebook, and email accounts. I think she followed me on Instagram. I believe she did. This enabled Tracy and me to keep going. Our job was to turn these protests into a real movement, one that would lead to an arrest and a prosecution, although it was starting to get even bigger than that. Through our advocacy for Trayvon, we were also shining light on the issues that brought us to this point: profiling, gun violence, and the broken criminal justice system which helped us engage more and more people in in our mission. While we stood in front of the cameras, our attorneys were working behind the scenes and often right alongside us in front of the media, supporting us in our case and trying to get traction on the case. Of course, along with the incredible outpouring of support came the inevitable backlash of opposition. Hate mail was flooding in. All kinds of hate mail, bunches of letters to Trump's offices, and uncontrollable emails and web postings expressing hatred toward us and our dear son, making threats. I found it interesting that some of those people threatened to kill Tracy and Crump and use the N word against them. But with me and our women's attorneys, Natalie Jackson and Jasmine Rand, the threats were sexual in nature. Threats of rape and other sexual violence. We did our best to brush it off, but the sheer volume of hateful and violent messages were getting hard to ignore. We found strength in the endless letters and emails of support from people of different races and from all over the country, including mothers and fathers who identified with us as parents who had lost a child. Donations began to come in and help us pursue the case. Along with the letters and emails came postings on social media. Trayvon was now almost always trending at or near the top of every social media site, driven by the nonstop media coverage, rallies, and protests nationwide. People ignorant as fuck. I know a lot of people probably talking shit about this book. Let me see. It's like these chapters get longer and longer. Hmm. On March 22nd, another rally was scheduled in Sanford in Fort Mellon Park. A press conference was scheduled for 5 p.m., 2 hours before the 7 p.m. rally, which we would attend with our family friends, Martin Luther King III and Reverend Sharpton. Less than an hour before the rally was to begin, we were at our hotel in Lake Mary, a town a comfortable distance away from Sanford. We felt somewhat safe there, away from the media in the city where emotions were running high. People were literally pouring into Sanford for the rally, along with media, both local and national. Just as we were preparing to leave our hotel, Crump's phone rang. He answered it and came back with what we thought was incredible news. The governor wanted to see us. Finally, we thought someone with the power to launch a thorough investigation is paying attention. We knew that Florida Governor Rick Scott had publicly taken an interest in our case. On March 20th, he held a press conference saying, I'm confident that the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the local law enforcement, and the FBI, that we will find out what happened. Still, we had become skeptical that anyone in Florida government would come to our aid. But now, with Mia he intensifying, the governor seemed ready to do something more than give lip service to the case. We all piled into Attorney Park's Toyota rental car, me, Tracy, Crump, Parks, and Natalie Jackson, and drove from our hotel to a small city government building near the park where the rally would be held in Sanford. On a short ride over, Crump talked of a blue streak. We'll tell the governor why we are so passionate and certain that this is bigger than a Sanford, Florida issue, he said. That is certainly a national issue, and that the government of Florida needs to do something because the case is shameful. Obviously, they did do nothing because after all these years, even after writing this book, nothing damn happened. We got out of the car, entering the building, and walked into an office. And there he was, a tall, thin, bald governor, surrounded by his support staff and at least 10 uniformed Florida Department of Law Enforcement officers. I'm so sorry for the loss of your child, the governor began. He told us that he was a father and that he couldn't imagine our grief and would do his best to make sure we got some relief. I don't remember him saying that we would get justice, but he did say that he wanted to pull all of the resources of his office to make sure that everyone knew that he took our case seriously. Bullshit. They probably say that to everybody. I told the governor that I didn't feel anything was going to be done. No arrest, no trial, no justice. Tracy told him that the Sanford Police Department didn't even look to see if Trayvon lived in a gated community where he was shot and seemed to just take the killer's word in his side about everything. Crump was, of course, always eager to speak, especially to the governor. He told him that everyone knew that the state attorney for Sanford, Norman Wolfinger, wanted to send the case to a grand jury, where cases go to die, as he repeatedly told us, and didn't seem to want to prosecute the killer of our son. The governor told us he had already contacted Wolfinger, who will be stepping down from our case. In his place, the governor was appointing by the executive order a special prosecutor, Angela Corey, a veteran of 30 years in the state attorney's office, where we read she had tried several hundred cases, including more than 50 homicides, and had built a reputation as a fearless prosecutor. Soon we would meet her, a man-built, middle-aged woman with a friendly smile. She told us from the beginning that she was sorry for our loss and would do her best to bring justice for our family. And now she was handling our case. This is good, I whispered to Crump. It was maybe the second victory we managed to win. The first being getting the tapes released in our almost months-long fight for justice. Wow, said Crump, expressing what all of us felt as we left the governor in his team. But we were under no illusions about what had happened. This was only happening because of the media. The same day, March 22nd, the governor announced that he was creating a task force to investigate how to make sure a tragedy like this does not happen in the future. The task force would thoroughly review Florida's stand your ground law and any other laws, rules, regulations, and or programs that relate to public safety and citizen protection. Accounting to the governor's news release that day, he would ask who? He would ask Florida Lieutenant Governor Jennifer Carroll to lead the task force and conduct public hearings and recommend actions, legislation, and otherwise to both protect our citizens and safeguard our rights. We knew that the state of ground law would loom large in our fight for justice, and if the shooter was never arrested, it could be the law that could lead the jury to let him go free. But the law is unfairly applied by some. Could Trayvon have used stand your ground if he shot the killer? Would he have walked free? I'm sure it would not have been applied had it been Trayvon that did the shooting. Facts. In the research I've done, I discovered that advocates for stand your ground laws included the powerful National Rifle Association and the Secretive American Legislative Exchange Council. It was first pushed in part of the measure to help women suffering from domestic violence, to give them legal protection in cases where they defended themselves. But a report by a Tampa Bay Times that analyzed 237 senior ground cases in Florida between 2005 to 2013 found only 33 were related to domestic disputes. In most cases, it was men who claimed the law in defense. We kept hearing that stand your ground was a bad law because it was not applied fairly. It was a law that gave someone the right to do bodily harm to a person, even shoot a person dead, and say that the shooting was justified because he felt threatened. That's how it was explained to us in the beginning. Our attorneys told us that. Oh, sorry, y'all. All right, I'm gonna read it over. We kept hearing that the stand your ground law was a bad law because it was not applied fairly. It was a law that gave someone the right to do bodily harm to a person, even shoot a person dead, and say that the shooting was justified because he felt threatened. That's how it was explained to us in the beginning. Our attorneys told us that stand your ground would be used during the trial, but 2 months before the trial started, we were told that stand your ground would not be used as a defense, although the law would be much discussed outside of the court. A review of the stand your ground law not only sounded good, it sounded essential for our case. I almost had to pinch myself. It seemed too good to be true, and it was. Nothing really came of that task force, but we couldn't stop now. From there, we drove straight to Fort Mellon Park, a big green lakeside park with playgrounds, tennis courts, picnic tables, and fountains. Well, when we arrived, I saw the mini skyline of 40-foot satellite antennas rising from a caravan of news vans. People in news helicopters hover overhead. Oh, I mean, police in news helicopters. I'm sorry. The crowd will later be estimated at 8,000 people, and but it definitely felt like more than that. They were bused in from Central Florida to Georgia, and some came from as far away as Las Vegas. They lined the streets, waving signs and screaming for justice and crowding in front of the stage where folding chairs and a lectern had been set up for us to speak. Reverend Sharpton was waiting for us at the park. We had met him before, of course, on his show, but seeing him at a rally was really seeing him in his natural habitat. Seeing him in Sanford for our son, wearing his beautiful suit and tie, his slick salt and pepper hair, vibrating with the righteous anger that always seemed to be on the verge of exploding into words, was an emotional moment. We gathered together just before we went on stage. Reverend Sharpton hugged me and like he always would when we met, and gave his usual greeting. Good evening. I am here for you now and until the end. This is a lot. Oh my god. And I still got a whole bunch more pages left. What the hell? Shortly before boarding the plane to Florida from the New York at 6 that morning, Reverend Sharpton received word that his mother, Anna Richard Sharpton, had died at 87. He could have, and most people would have, canceled his appearance at the rally. My mother, Anna Sharpton, passed away in the early hours of this morning, Reverend Sharpton tweeted just after learning of his mother's death. She was my all. I hope God will give her Now, peace. I love you, Mom. Then shortly after that, he tweeted again, I am on the flight to Florida. I am on the flight to Florida and will move forward with our plan to protest the killing of Trayvon Martin. My mom would have wanted me to. He came to our rally mourning his mother, whose funeral he would plan that night after our rally in Sanford. The emotion of that weighed heavily on us, on all of us, but it also proved to us the meaning of true devotion to a cause. The rally began and we stood upon a little stage alongside the legends of the civil rights movement, including activists and comedian Dick Gregory, Martin Luther King III, and family members of Rosa Parks, known as the mother of the freedom movement. Reverend Sharpton was one of the first to speak. And listening to him, I felt a dam breaking inside me, inside all of us, all the grief, sorrow, and emotion that we had been feeling finally given his most eloquent, passionate, loudest voice. 26 days ago, this young man, Trayvon Martin, did nothing criminal, did nothing unethical, went to the store, he said. He came back and lost his life. Trayvon could have been any one of us. Trayvon represents the reckless disregard of our lives. We come to tell you tonight, enough is enough. We are tired of going to jail for nothing and others going home for something. Zimmerman should have been arrested that night. Zimmerman had no probable cause that night. You cannot defend yourself against a pack of Skittles and iced tea. Don't talk to us like we're stupid. Don't talk to us like we're ignorant. We love our children like you love yours. Lock him up. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some people say to me in the media, they say, Reverend, seems like a lot of people are angry. Are you afraid of violence? I say, no, I'm afraid of the violence you already have. Violence is killing Trayvon. Don't act like we are the ones who are violent. We don't shoot nobody. We didn't shoot nobody. I'm sorry. Don't let them trick you. He continued. They're going to send provocators, and talking bad. They are working for the other side, the Trayvon side. We're going to win this. Just you gathering, just what you done on a grassroots level. We've seen today. The governor put a new prosecutor in. We met with the Justice Department. The chief said he did a temporary leave. No, we want permanent justice. But though it is good what the governor did, we don't just want good. We want to see Zimmerman in handcuffs behind his back, charged with the death of this young man, Trayvon Martin. The crowd hung on his words. I could feel the emotion of the crowd welling up along with my own. As the cheers grew louder and louder, Reverend Sharpton went on. Hold on, y'all, because this is a lot. These chapters getting longer and longer. Yeah, 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 yeah. All right, all right, all right. He mentioned Tracy and me as well as his own personal grief. I got a call at 2 o'clock this morning from my sister that my mother had died. He said one mom said don't come tonight, but another mom said that my mother would be ashamed of me if I didn't have the strength to stand up for this man and this woman and their son. My mother didn't raise me to duck a fight. She raised me to stand up and fight. On Tuesday, he added he would fly to Alabama to bury my mother. He said it'd be painful, but not as painful as it is for a man and a woman to bury their son. Sons are supposed to bury their mothers. Mothers are not supposed to bury their sons. Then he mentioned us again. If they can bear the pain to stand up for us, then we can take the pain to stand up with them. They have woke America up and they have shown something that this world needs to see. And that is we love our children like everyone else loves their children. We may not have as much as others have, but we have each other, and we are not going to let anyone take our children from us. Now we were like family, united in the grief of loss, our son, his mother. I was, of course, teary eyed by then, and now I had to speak. May we welcome to the platform, welcome to the microphone, the parents of Trayvon, said Reverend Sharpton. Those that have fought the fight, let us hear from them and give them our love. Tracy and I coming forward, both of us teary eyed now that what the Reverend had said and said for the loss of his mother. I had gained strength from what Reverend Sharpton had said and his decision to come to Sanford on this mournful day. Tracy and I thank the thousands of supporters that showed up for the rally. We told them we loved them and once again said that for us justice meant nothing short of an arrest, followed by the trial and the conviction of the murderer of our son. When I stepped into the microphone, my voice was still trembling. Just a few weeks ago, I was an average mother grieving the loss of a child. Now I was speaking to 8,000 people. I did what I have always done in times of trouble and uncertainty. I took a deep breath, said a short silent prayer, and turned to scripture. The Lord is my shepherd. I began looking out at the sea of people. Proverbs, the third verse, the fifth and sixth chapters tells me, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. I stand before you today not knowing how I'm talking right now because my heart hurts for my son. Trayvon is my son. Trayvon is your son. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all of your support. We want justice for Trayvon. The crowd cheered, and with that, I left the podium. Then Tracy finished his comments. Syndicated radio and television host Michael Bazin spoke. He had been with us practically from the beginning, one of the first public figures to share our story with his audience on his program, The Michael Bazin Show. Unarmed 17-year-old boy shot by a neighborhood watch captain in Sanford, Florida, outside of Orlando. Bazin tweeted shortly after Trayvon's death, which was surely the first time many had heard my son's name, and provided a link to the local news story. Bazin then took up Trayvon's death as his personal cause on his radio program, demanding an arrest. Sabrina Fulton was right. It's about what's wrong, he said, and what happened here was wrong. How do you have a black child or any child lying in the dirt and nobody even takes a statement from the man who shot him? That ain't right. Tell me that ain't right. That ain't right, the crowd screamed, raising fists and protest signs high into the Florida night sky. Don't even knock on a single door to find out if this child belonged to anybody. Basin said, that ain't right. That ain't right, the crowd chanted back. We got a black man in the White House, but we can't get one white man arrested for killing a black child. That ain't right. That ain't right. You can lock up Michael Vick for killing a dog, and we can get justice for a young black boy. That ain't right. That ain't right. The justice for Trayvon movement was growing stronger by the minute, the hour, and the day. At Dr. Michael M. Crump Senior High School in Miami, which Trayvon was attending, at the time of his death, between 300 and 400 students planned to walk out of class demanding an arrest. I was traveling at the time, but immediately called the superintendent of Miami schools and told him that my family and I deeply appreciated the support, but we didn't want kids to miss school. We don't want them to get in any trouble. We don't want anyone to get hurt. I said, at Miami Carroll City Senior High School, which Trayvon once attended, the kids marched into the middle of the street, tying up traffic around the school for blocks, carrying signs and chanting for justice. They also protested at North Miami High School and many others. At Southridge Senior High School in Cutler Bay, Florida, administrators and students came up with an imaginative form of protest, and students fanned out onto a football field and organized themselves in a TM formation for Trayvon Martin that could be seen and was photographed from the air. The photograph was seen in newspapers and other media nationwide. The center of the movement, however, seemed to be my living room. At the time of the shooting, I lived in a split level, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom house in the suburb of Miami Gardens. It was cozy and clean, and I carefully decorated in a way that reflected my own style back to me. It felt like home, a place for family. But that was all gone now. Now it was a meeting place, a headquarters, a nexus for the Justice Trayvon movement. Reverend Al would later tell us movements are not about what you can project. Movements are about what is right. And if we come together and what is right, God will bless you and the rest will follow. I was happy to give over my home to the Justice for Trayvon movement, but with that came a realization that it would not be a home again for a very long time. Again, as Robert Al said, anybody can be mad for 90 days. They'll calculate. They be mad a couple weeks and go home. You got to learn how to organize when the momentum is going against you. You have to learn how to get in the trenches when they disparage you. You have to learn how to be there when the cameras are not there and the newspapers ignore you. That's when you see who you really are. The trenches of our movement ran straight through my home. There was constant traffic in and out of the house, people at all hours of the day and night. My living room television, once devoted unto my favorite shows, was now feeding us the latest news of our tragedy. I tried not to watch, and when Tracy would come over and watch the news, it would just upset him. All day, every day, commentators would give their opinions about our son and what had happened to him. But I wasn't worried about that. All I cared about was an arrest and finding justice, which meant getting the word out to as many people as possible. Then, seemingly out of the blue, came a supporter who would startle us all. On March 23rd, on March 23rd, a day after the first big Stanford rally, had almost 1 month. In almost 1 month after Trayvon's death, Tracy Gerards and I were in Tracy's truck driving down the turnpike between Stanford and Miami, somewhere near Fort Pierce, when our cell phones began to ring in unison. Calls, emails, Facebook messages, tweets, everything at once. Gerard's and I picked up our phones and everybody was saying the same thing. President Obama is talking about Trayvon. Trayvon's name is being mentioned in the White House. The White House, we all said at once. Gerard pulled up one of hundreds of immediately posted articles on his phone and read it out loud. During the press conference in the Rose Garden, President Obama was asked about Trayvon. Gun violence had become one of the president's highest domestic priorities. And when he spoke of Trayvon, his body language and his tone made it clear our case had affected him as a parent. Mr. President, can I ask you about the current case in Florida? A reporter asked at that day's press conference. Very controversial allegations of lingering racism within our society and of the so-called stand ground law and the justice in that. Can you comment on the Trayvon Martin case, sir? The president paused a moment before speaking. The press conference was not supposed to be about Trayvon, but that is what it would come to be remembered for. President Obama took a breath. I'm the head of the executive branch, and the attorney general reports to me. So I've got to be careful about my statements to make sure that we're not impairing any investigation that's taking place right now, he said. But honestly, this is a tragedy. I can only imagine what these parents are going through. And when I think about this boy, I think about my own kids. And I think every parent in America should be able to understand why it is absolutely imperative that we investigate every aspect of this, and that everybody pulls together, federal, state, and local, to figure out exactly how this tragedy happened. Like the mayor saying, for the president was a father, and for a father, our mother, the Trayvon Martin case was a simple case of right and wrong. I felt that the president was saying this could happen to anyone. He continued, so I'm glad that not only in the Justice Department looking into it, I understand now that the governor of the state of Florida has formed a task force to investigate what's taking place. I think all of us have to do some soul searching to figure out how does something like this happen. And that means that we examine the laws in the context for what happened, as well as the specifics of the incident. I felt he was speaking not only as a parent, but as an African American parent of African American children in a country where black children are still so vulnerable to violence of all kinds. Our children can't just be kids, they have to be so much more. Our children don't always feel safe in their own communities. My main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. The president continued, you know, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. And I think they are right to expect that all of us as Americans are going to take this with the seriousness it deserves. And that we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. We were overwhelmed with our tragedy, and our son's name had reached the White House. We sat in our car stunned. The President of the United States was talking about Trayvon Martin. By the time Tracy pulled his truck into the driveway, the news was on every television set in my home. Meanwhile, homes across America and around the world were hearing about our case being discussed at the highest possible level. It took hours to put what the president had said in perspective. Once again, as it had been from the start, the media was our best ally. In the Washington Post, Jonathan Capehart will later call President Obama's comments about Trayvon the most powerful remarks on race since his speech on a subject that saved his presidential campaign in 2008. Later, President Obama would speak again about Trayvon's death in another press conference. You know, when Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. Another way of saying that is Trayvon Martin could have been me 25 years ago. In saying this, the president reached past one man and one boy in one case in one small Florida town across centuries of slavery and oppression and discrimination and self-destructive behavior and sought to place this charged case in a cultural context. Wrote Charles M. Blow of the New York Times, who also noted, and while words were not actions or solutions, giving voice to the people's pain from the people's house has power. It's so much more to read within this damn book. I probably have to finish this tomorrow because it's a lot. The, the president's words unleashed deluge of support in Miami. Dwayne Wade, then a shooting guard for the Miami Heat, and his future wife, actress Gabrielle Union, apparently spent several days talking to each other about Trayvon, wondering how they could best join the growing demand for justice. Eventually, they decided that Wade could make a bigger statement with his team than he could as an individual. Then the Heat players hit the court in Detroit on March 23rd, 2012, against the Pistons. Several players, including LeBron James, Udonis Haslam, and Dwayne Wade, ran out with messages written on their sneakers: "Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin," and "We want justice," which they later gave to me as a memorial to my son. A few days later, James posted a picture on Twitter and Facebook encouraging by encouraged by Wade and Union's idea to make a strong statement about Trayvon. Wade and Union had gathered other Miami Heat players at their hotel in Detroit. 13 members of the team were wearing hoodies, their hands in their pockets and their heads bowed. The post was tagged "We Want Justice," and it quickly went viral. Last Christmas, all my oldest son wanted was a gift. As a gift was hoodies. Wade told the Illustrated, the Associated Press, lamenting a world in which an article of clothing worn by a young black man can immediately raise suspicion and guilt. So when I heard about this a week ago, I thought of my sons. I'm speaking up because I feel it's necessary that we get past the stereotype of young black men, and especially with our youth. It really is a tragic story. He coach Eric Spoelstra. I don't know his how to pronounce. Told the local newspaper after Twitter and Facebook posts about the team's actions began flooding the internet. And the more you learn about it, the more confused you get. But for them to come together to draw more light on the subject, I think it's a powerful move. And we all stand behind them, not only the staff, but the Miami Heat organization. In Toronto, the New York Knicks star player Carmelo Anthony tweeted a picture of himself headed down in a gray hoodie before the game against the Raptors. Across the front of his photo, he wrote, "I am Trayvon Martin," in red letters. Anthony's teammates at the time, Amari Stoudemire, who was born and raised less than an hour from Orlando, arrived at Air Canada Center in a hoodie sweatshirt and wore it both in solidarity and as a protest during warm up. The National Basketball Players Association, the labor union that represents NBA players, sanctioned these actions. They stood with my family and me, calling not for not only an arrest but also investigation into the Sanford Police Department. The hoodie had become an instrument of protest, but not for everyone. For some, the hoodie was the root cause of Trayvon's shooting, and therefore the shooting was Trayvon's fault for wearing it. But we all know that this is ridiculous because people from all walks of life wear hoodies. Trayvon's only crime was the color of his skin. The theory that the hoodie could have led to my son's shooting was most prominently presented by Fox News' Geraldo Rivera. I think the hoodie is as much responsible for Trayvon Martin's death as George Zimmerman was, he said on the Fox and Friends show. Trayvon Martin, God bless him, an innocent kid, a wonderful kid, a box of Skittles. You mean a bag, dickhead? In his hand, he didn't deserve to die. Rivera continued, but I bet you money if he didn't have a hoodie on, that nutty neighborhood watch guy wouldn't have responded in that violent and aggressive way. You cannot rehabilitate the hoodie, Rivera concluded. To which I would say Trayvon could have taken off the hoodie, but he wouldn't be safe unless he could also have taken off the color of his skin. Gerald Rivera's words triggered another explosion in our cause. Rivera's own son wrote him to say he was ashamed of his father's comments. But Rivera didn't back off. He tweeted, "Parents must do whatever they can to keep their kids safe, meaning make them take off the hoodie." The reaction was immediate and fierce. Well, I gotta stroll around rocking the tux 24/7 so I can put others who are ignorant at ease. What about the other side of the coin? The Roots drummer Questlove tweeted to Rera, the comedian, and as is Ansari was more direct. It's really appropriate to tweet this any day, but seriously, fuck you, Geraldo. He wrote. MSNBC Melissa Harris Perry opened her weekend morning show with a mock news segment called Dress Code for Black Safety, which poked fun at legislation banning excessively saggy pants and suggesting black men dress like Steve Urkel, the nerd next door from the 1990s sitcom Family Matters. She also held up always elegantly dressed Harvard professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. as an example of safe attire before showing a 2009 picture of him being arrested for attempting to enter his own home. This is a lot. I'm about to finish this shit. Yeah, I'm about to finish this later on. Yo, this is a lot. Like I said, each chapter is just getting longer and longer. So, like, comment, subscribe. I'll get back to y'all in the next. In the next video. Peace.